Every city has a heartbeat, but some have rhythm. Welcome to Kansas City, the place where jazz was born, barbecue became legend, and dreams rose with the sound of trumpets echoing through the streets. Once called the Paris of the Plains, this city holds more fountains than any other in America, each one whispering stories from a past that refuses to fade. But behind the music, the food, and the smiles lies a story that few truly know. A story of pioneers, of struggle and survival, of how a simple frontier town became a symbol of American soul. Here at Citynova, we don't just talk about cities, we travel through time. We uncover the secrets hidden beneath every brick, every street, every skyline. So tonight, let's dive into the untold history of Kansas City, a city built on rhythm, fire, and faith, because this is where history still sings. Every story has a beginning, and the story of Kansas City begins on the banks of two great rivers, the Missouri and the Kansas. In the early 1800s, this land was nothing but wide open plains, wild grass, and endless silence. No skyscrapers, no streets, only the whisper of the wind and the dream of a future yet to be written. But that silence was temporary, because destiny had already chosen this place to become something greater. Traders, explorers, and dreamers began to arrive. Guided by the river's flow, chasing opportunity and hope. They built small wooden houses, set up trading posts, and slowly, life began to breathe here. The meeting point of two rivers became the meeting point of two worlds, the untamed frontier and the promise of civilization. It was raw, wild, and dangerous, but also full of possibilities. People came with nothing but courage in their hearts and fire in their eyes. They didn't just settle here, they dreamed of building a city that would stand the test of time. As the sun set over the muddy waters, the first lights flickered from their cabins. No one knew that those tiny sparks would one day become the dazzling skyline of Kansas City. Time passed. The rivers carried more people, more dreams, and more change. What started as a small trading post soon began to grow. Markets formed, roads connected, and life found its rhythm. This was the dawn of Kansas City, a place born from courage, carried by the river, and shaped by the hands of dreamers. And as the first settlers looked across the plains, they didn't see emptiness anymore. They saw a future, a city rising from the heart of America.
They say every great city is built on struggle, and Kansas City was no exception. As more people arrived, the quiet plains turned into busy streets filled with traders, wagons, and workers. Wooden houses became brick buildings, and the sound of hammers echoed through the air like the heartbeat of a rising dream. The river that once carried silence now carried steamboats loaded with goods and hopes. Kansas City began to rise, not just in size, but in spirit. The smell of smoke, the rhythm of footsteps, and the laughter from taverns painted a new story every day. A city was being born from dust and determination. But growth brought challenges. The roads were muddy, diseases spread fast, and life was not easy. Yet the people here were different. They refused to quit. They built bridges, railroads, and dreams, connecting east and west, people and possibilities. From a lonely outpost, Kansas City became a beating heart of trade. It wasn't just a place anymore. It was becoming a purpose. But no story of greatness comes without pain. The 1850s and 60s brought chaos, political tension, slavery debates, and the bloody shadow of the Civil War. Kansas City stood right in the middle of it all, torn between North and South. The city became a battlefield of ideals, freedom versus fear. Flames rose, buildings fell, and people fled. For a moment, it felt like the dream was dying before it even began. But the heart of this city refused to stop beating. Even in the ashes, there were sparks, small signs that Kansas City would rise again, stronger than before. Because every empire, every legend, is born twice, once in glory and once in survival. And from that hope, a new Kansas City began to emerge, ready to rebuild, to redefine, and to remind the world that no storm can erase a city built on dreams. From the ashes of war, Kansas City took a deep breath. The smoke had cleared, but the scars remained on the streets, on the walls, and in the hearts of the people. Yet those very scars became reminders of survival. This was not the end. It was the beginning of something greater. The city began to rebuild brick by brick, hand by hand, heart by heart. New faces arrived, full of hope and hunger for change. Old wounds slowly healed as railroads stretched across the land, bringing goods, travelers, and opportunity. The river that once carried destruction now carried life again. Shops reopened, laughter returned to the markets, and the sound of jazz floated through the air, soft at first, but growing louder with every passing day. This was the rebirth of Kansas City, a city that refused to die, a city that rose not from wealth, but from willpower. And soon, that willpower gave birth to something magical. The 1920s, the golden era. Kansas City transformed from a recovering town into a rhythm-filled paradise. Every corner buzzed with music, dance, and life. This was the home of legends, the birthplace of jazz, where musicians played not for fame, but for freedom. The nights were long, the streets alive, and the sound of trumpets echoed through the alleys. It wasn't just entertainment, it was identity. The people of Kansas City turned struggle into art and pain into melody. At the same time, the city's economy began to soar. New theaters, clubs, and businesses opened every week. It was as if the whole city had learned how to dance again, a rhythm born from resilience. From silent ruins to shining nights, Kansas City had found its soul, bold, unstoppable, unforgettable. And while the rest of the world was still learning to dream, this city was already singing its dreams out loud. By the mid-20th century, Kansas City was no longer just a city of music and nightlife. It had transformed, slowly, steadily, into a modern hub of industry, culture, and innovation. Skyscrapers began to pierce the skyline, reflecting the sun and dreams of generations. Streets were paved, bridges stretched across rivers, and railroads carried commerce faster than ever before. The rhythm of jazz was now accompanied by the hum of machines, the chatter of offices, and the laughter of children in growing neighborhoods. Kansas City had learned to balance history with progress. Old theaters stood beside new corporate buildings, Historic districts preserved stories of pioneers, while the downtown skyline told a tale of ambition and growth. Technology, transportation, and innovation became the new pulse. The city became a center for business, healthcare, and education. People from across the country arrived to build their dreams here, continuing the tradition of resilience and hope. And yet, the soul of Kansas City remained the same. The streets still echoed with jazz. The rivers still carried memories of the first settlers. Every fountain, every park, every corner told a story of survival, rebirth, and ambition. But even as it embraced modernity, Kansas City held secrets. Hidden histories, untold stories, and whispers of the past that refused to fade. This city had transformed, yes, from a frontier outpost to a golden era legend, and now into a modern metropolis, bold, vibrant, and alive.
Even in a city that shines so brightly, some stories remain hidden. Kansas City is full of secrets, whispered through alleyways, etched into old brick buildings, and carried by the rivers that once bore pioneers and traders. Behind every fountain, behind every jazz note, lies a tale most people never hear. Stories of daring entrepreneurs, unsung heroes, and legends who shaped the city from the shadows. The hidden history of Kansas City is one of courage, rebellion, and dreams that refuse to die. Some streets still echo with footsteps from decades ago. Some buildings hold memories that no plaque can describe. And every time a trumpet plays, a small part of that hidden past awakens, reminding the city of its roots. Today, Kansas City is alive, more vibrant than ever. Skyscrapers rise alongside historic districts. Fountains sparkle in the sunlight. Rivers glide peacefully, carrying both the weight of history and the promise of tomorrow. It is a city where jazz still plays, where barbecue is legendary, and where every street tells a story, some loud, some quiet, all unforgettable. From a dusty frontier outpost to a bustling modern metropolis, Kansas City has survived, grown, and thrived. It is a city of rhythm, resilience, and relentless dreams. A city that never forgets its past, yet always looks to the future. This is Kansas City, the heartbeat of the plains, the soul of America, and a legend in its own right. Every city has a heartbeat, but some have rhythm. Welcome to Kansas City, the place where jazz was born, barbecue became legend, and dreams rose with the sound of trumpets echoing through the streets. Once called the Paris of the Plains, this city holds more fountains than any other in America, each one whispering stories from a past that refuses to fade. But behind the music, the food, and the smiles lies a story that few truly know. A story of pioneers, of struggle and survival, of how a simple frontier town became a symbol of American soul. Here at Citynova, we don't just talk about cities, we travel through time. We uncover the secrets hidden beneath every brick, every street, every skyline. So tonight, let's dive into the untold history of Kansas City, a city built on rhythm, fire, and faith, because this is where history still sings.